That's a turn up for the books. Right then, hello, who's this?
Come on, guys. Let's hit for the action.
Strange person.
Through after 3 motos and won a check for $2,500 and 80 points to his overall series standings. After Miami, we went to Detroit, Michigan. There, our young rookie named Eddy King on the Diamondback squad came through, and although Eddy did not win 1 moto, he placed high enough in the 3 motos that he raced into for him to go ahead and win $2,500 there and 80 points for his series standings. But that wasn't all. From Detroit, we went to St. Louis, Missouri. There, a local rider by the name of John Pyant went through the motos, blazing the track, and he won $2,500. Loncarevich presents the ESPN BMX Pro Spectacular. Super Circuit, this time stopping in beautiful Johnstown, Pennsylvania, famous for steel mills, coal mines, and occasionally this flooding river, also known as the amateur sports capital for international and national competition. Outside of Johnstown, tucked away in Highland Park, East Hill BMX track. It's the 4th stop on the BMX Pro Spectacular Super Circuit. And hi, everybody, and welcome to this 4th stop. I'm D. David Morin, along with Carmen and Cizo. And Carmen, what do you expect to see today in this competition?
Well, you're going to see a lot of action, thrills, and adventure around this track right here. Has a bit of everything. Has a whole bunch of jumps in it. Some cascading waterfall jumps in the second straightaway.
Some things we've never seen before.
Yeah, it's the first time I've ever seen them. Very interesting the way the riders are taking them.
What about the length of the track, Carmen?
One of the longest I've ever seen. It's about a quarter of a mile long, and it's really a super fast track. It's going to be a very interesting day, to say the least.
And in the BMX Pro Spectacular format, the Pro Main runs 3 times, so it's not a one-shot deal. The pros, once we get to the final rounds, will have to be tearing around this quarter-mile track 3 times each to get ahead of it. Who do you like? Any favorites in the preliminaries that you've seen?
I got a couple of my favorites. I like to see the Avalanche do something. That's Richie Anderson. He does a nice job on the track, and he's a very interesting rider, one of the more interesting, I think. Stu Thompson's a hot rider. I think he'll do well on this track. It's his kind of track, a lot of short straightaways, a lot of power involved.
Our current leader, Greg Hill, over now in the Super Circuit point standings. And before we go to our first break, we're going to be showing you a little bit of the pros up close and the kind of riding style they can do.
Don't leave us hanging. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, everybody. D. David Morin along with Carmen and Caesar bringing you the play-by-play action as it happens. First, we'd like to give you the magazine picks, our BMX press here, BMX Plus magazine, picking Stu Thompson to win it all here today. You can see the rest of the names they've picked for the top 8. Ironically, Stu Thompson has not advanced through the preliminaries. He isn't even in the semis, so Stu's out of the running, and maybe Plus's picks are a little bit out of kilter already. Anyway, that's how BMX Plus's pick came down, and BMX Action has picked Brian Patterson to win it all today, with Greg Hill, our current series leader, in 2nd. They have Stu Thompson in 6th place, so Stu already out of the running, a major upset there. Stu not making it into the semis at all. And speaking of semis, that's our very first race coming up right now. Our first pro semi, Moto 1, round 1. Each one of the pro semi motos runs twice here in this format, and we'll begin with gate number 1 in lane number 1. Lane number 1 is Greg Grubbs, number 51G. Greg Grubbs in lane number 1. In lane 2 next to Greg is Donnie Atherton. Donnie Atherton in the lane next to him. There's Donnie right there. In lane 3 next to him is Brian Patterson from the Patterson Racing Team. Brian Patterson. And Brian is one of our previous winners from the Miami race, so Brian's back in the running. In lane number 4, John Pyant. Pyant, the one that did it all in St. Louis at our last stop on the Super Circuit. Lane 5, Brent Patterson, Brian's brother, Brent Patterson, number plate number 6. In lane number 7 is Ronnie Anderson, and I'm sorry, I think I'm off kilter here. Greg Hill is in lane number 6, that's right. Ronnie Anderson is in lane number 7. And after Lonnie in lane number 8 is Eric Rupe. Eric was our current series leader at the last stop. The gate is up, and Carmen, this is going to be the first pro semi Moto 1, round 1. And Carmen, why don't you call the action as it happens?
Okay, coming off the gate, looks like the half a pack has the move on everybody else. The inside rider seems to be making a good move. That's number 4.
Brian Patterson is in the lead of companion lead. And Hill is charging strong and with number 3 in 2nd. Behind Hill is number 51, Greg Grubbs from the Jag team. And Brian Patterson's in well command of this. So they're coming in the uphill straightaway. It's Patterson going into the tricky turn. Hill and Greg Grubbs following. And behind Greg Grubbs, it looks like it's Atherton. So continuing down, it's Brian Patterson, Greg Hill, Greg Grubbs, and Donnie Atherton.
This last turn is a tricky one. You might see some moves being made in this last turn here. Hill's making a nice move. I don't know.
Hill's going to settle for second. Brian Patterson making a strong move out of the gate into the first very decisive turn in second. Greg Grubbs in third, and Donnie Atherton in fourth. We're going to look at it right here from the top of that last race. Here's the replay for the first Pro Semi-Moto 1. As the gate drops, it's really anyone's baby, and the guy that gets the lead gets the whole shot. And here you can see Brian Patterson, who came out of lane number 3, really making a strong move.
Closed the door on Grubbs pretty good in that first turn there, and that helped him out, keeping him, him keeping a lead. Took the right line. If you take a look at the line, that's the one Hill said it was the hot setup going through these cascading waterfall jumps.
The rest of the pack pretty much funneling through, and Brian Patterson just hanging on for all of his might over the double jumps there and back down to this last turn. Hill on the inside.
Tried to make the move right there. Patterson closed the door on him over there and then pulled the outside line. It was pretty close there at the finish line, but I think I'd have to give it to Patterson there by about half a wheel.
The results for that first race, once again, Brian Patterson in first place, Greg Hill in second, Greg Grubbs in third, and Donnie Atherton in fourth place. This is the first round of Pro Semi-Moto 1. This same moto will go again a little bit later in the program. But right now, we're in for the Pro Semi-Moto 2 round 1, and quickly the lanes are shaping up like this. This is Pro Semi-Moto 2 round 1. In lane number 1, Scott Clark from the Murray team. Scott Clark. Scott has already made it into the mains in one of the previous races here, and he'd like to get back into the main for this stop. In lane number 2, Harry Leary from the Diamondback squad. Harry, one of the more famous riders in BMX history here in Johnstown. Now next to him in the third lane is Mark Driscoll. Mark Driscoll in lane number 3. Lane number 4 is Rod Beckering. Rod Beckering.
Cut him up.
Now we're getting a little mixed up here. Rod Beckering in lane 4. Lane 5 was Anthony Sewell. Lane 6 is Robert Fade. That's Robert Fade right there. Next to Robert in lane 7 is Eddy King. And in lane number 8 is Toby Henderson. So that's pretty much slating our gate for this Pro Semi-Moto number 2. And as the gate gets set, we'll see how this moto goes. The gate's down, and off the start, on the inside is Harry Leary and Sewell. Here's Leary, number 25 on the outside, but Sewell's on the inside. No, that's Scott Clark, number 8. Scott Clark, number 8, battling handlebar to handlebar with Harry Leary. Scott Clark still in the lead with Leary in second. They come around the turn, heading uphill. It's Leary in second still, with Scott Clark expanding his lead. Eddy King making his move at the back of the pack. Mark Driscoll in third. It's an open shot for fourth place. Number 29 is Rod Beckering in fourth place, but Eddy King making his move. He goes around Beckering into the final turn. We still have Scott Clark from Murray in the lead. Harry Leary in second. And Beckering comes back and takes fourth place away from Eddy King, and in third place was Mark Driscoll. We'll get a recap of that last race. We'll just watch the last half of it, and it's really quite a battle here for fourth place between Eddy King and Rod Beckering, who finally ended up settling at fourth.
Okay, Scott Clark looks like he has it locked in pretty good right over there.
You can see Scott really no problem here commanding his lead. Harry Leary comfortably in second, not as tight as Hill was in the first moto, but Leary still tightly in second place. And then we have Mark Driscoll in third, and then coming in fourth was Rod Beckering. That was quite a battle between Beckering and Eddy King. Those results once again for the first round of the Pro Semi-Moto number 2. Clark, Leary, Driscoll, and Beckering. Each of these motos will run a second time, and we'll use Olympic scoring, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the show, to determine their low points to advance into the next one. Carmen, what do you think about the first semi so far? And let's talk about Stu Thompson not advancing.
Well, that really surprised me. I thought this was kind of a track that Stu would like to race on. Stu's a very, very powerful rider. He just seemed to, maybe he's not excited, psyched up enough for it. It's hard to say. He's a very strong rider, and I was disappointed. He's one of my favorite riders. I look up to Stu. I look up to everybody. I'm short.
We'll try to track Stu down here a little bit and see if we can't find out his analysis on what happened as far as him not making it into the semis. But our first two semi-motos We'll take a look quickly here at our transfer system on how our pros get together, and then after that, Stu Thompson has just showed up, and we'll ask Stu himself on what happened. Here's quickly, here as you can see on our screen, our transfer system starts basically with 4 motos in the beginning with 8 riders each. We see divisions 1 through 4, 8 riders each. From there, we narrow it down, taking the top 4 riders from each moto going into our semifinals. That's where we are right now. Pro Semi Moto 1 and 2 are those 2 with 8 riders each. The semifinals will have 2 rounds each, 2 motos each, and then from there, we'll narrow it down into our finals. Now in the Pro Spectacular Series, we take the final moto of the 8 main guys and we run them 3 times each to determine our winner. Here's quickly how the Olympic scoring works, and we have Stu Thompson standing by on another set of headsets. We'll be talking to Stu here and find out what happened for his placing earlier today in the preliminaries and why he didn't make it to the semis. Olympic scoring basically has to do with how you add up your finished place points. Here you can see first place equals 1 point, and second place is 2 points. And in the Olympic scoring, the objective is to have as few points as possible. You want to stay up there in the 4th and 3rds and the second place finishes. Here's a sample scoring if you're scoring at home as these motos go by. Let's say rider A finishes with a 2nd, a 1st, and a 3rd. His total is going to be 6 points. Rider B, however, in the same 3 motos may have had a 1st, a 2nd, and a 2nd. His total would be 5 points. By Olympic scoring, the fewer points is to your advantage. Rider B would win by virtue of adding up his place points with 5 points. Now, one thing that often happens in Olympic scoring is you have a tie situation, and this is how the tiebreaker is decided. Let's say in a tie situation, you have rider A who has a 2nd, a 1st, and a 3rd, and he would come up with 6 points. Rider B would come through with the same 3 motos with a 1st, a 1st, and a 4th, also getting 6 points. To break the tie, you go to the 3rd moto, and in this case, rider A had a 3rd, rider B had a 4th, so rider A wins with a 3rd place finish. So that's how we decide our tiebreaker situation. And if it's possible, I'd like to get Stu Thompson in here. And Stu, maybe we can ask you quickly what happened in the preliminary round. Stu Thompson, I'd like to welcome you aboard. Stu, what happened in the early going?
Oh, thanks, D. David. Well, I was leading my first moto, and I come around this second turn here after the waterfall jumps, and if you don't take it just at the right inside line, you drift too wide, and the track disappears. And unfortunately, I was running first, and I worried too much about the riders behind me, and I drifted off the track and ended up with a 6th place finish. So that hurt me really bad.
All right, well, thanks very much, Stu, for joining us. We're disappointed you're not in this race, but we'll look forward to the next stop in Las Vegas, and good luck to you for the rest of the series.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with a lot more exciting BMX action right here at East Hills BMX track right after this.
Don't go away. We'll be back with some of the best style bicycle motocross has to offer.
Coming up on our gate is our second round of our pro main, and I'll tell you, this pro main is filled with some of the biggest names in racing. I haven't seen a main like this in quite a while. We'll go straight to lane number 1 for second round, and it's John Pyant. Pyant took 6th in the first moto, and he's working his Olympic scoring. Next to him, from the Diamondback team, Harry Leary in lane number 2. In lane number 3, these guys again side by side, Eddy King. Eddie winning that last one with some trick riding. Next to him on the Murray team, Anthony Sewell. Anthony Sewell in lane 4. Lane 5, on the GT team, Greg Hill, our current series leader. Greg would like to win it here and add a little bit more of a cushion to his points. Brian Patterson next to him on Patterson Racing in lane 6. Lane number 7 next to Patterson, another guy on the Murray team, Scott Clark. And outside of that is going to be Greg Grubbs, who has some fancy riding to get himself a good finish in the last one, lane 8. Pro Main, the gate is up, and this is going to be round number 2 for the Pro Main. And these guys are more determined than ever after kind of a fluke first round. The gate is dropped. Eddy King getting a slow start out of the gate and out of the front. Again, the Murray team taking a wide line on the inside. It's going to be some trouble. Ryan Patterson, number 4, but Sewell still in the lead. And Scott Clark pushing it on the inside. It's Sewell and Clark. Patterson now coming in second. Outside, Harry Leary making a move on Diamondback team. Sewell still leading it. Number 17, Patterson pushing it in second. Greg Hill making his move on the inside. We had a couple on this turn before. Hill does a double over the ropes. Coming out of the turn. Sewell takes another breath and goes down, charging down the back line. It's Patterson. Harry Leary in the black helmet following him. Hill in 4th. He needs a good finish in order to come into the top 5. Outside, we have a couple more riders. King back in the pack, but it's going to be a tight sprint to the finish. Patterson's going to charge him, and Patterson may have caught Anthony Sewell. Harry Leary in 3rd, and we have Pyant and Hill close between 4th and 5th. Eddy King bringing up the back along with Scott Clark and Greg Grubbs.
A lot of moving and grooving in the background there.
Let's watch it here from the final jump of the track. A very close race. We talked about a wide track and things getting bunched up, and they certainly are. Here's Sewell coming over the step jumps. You can see Leary trying to make an inside move on Patterson. Patterson says, no way, I'm throwing my arm and elbow, my whole body out there. I'm going to lead you through that turn. You can see Patterson doing. The rest of the pros, it's Sewell coming around the back. Patterson swooping down into the bottom here, trying to push it on. He pours on the heat, trying to come across the finish line first, and it looks like a dead heat. It might have gone to Patterson. It's really close to call. Here are our final results. Brian Patterson edging out Anthony Sewell with a bottom line inside move. Sewell coming in second. Harry Leary in third. And Greg Hill, our current overall leader right now, in fourth. So
Harry Leary just came off of a bad year last year. You know, he had a really serious leg injury that held him up for the bulk of the year, for the end of last year, and he's really coming on strong. I don't think he's 100% yet, and I think you're going to see some fast racing coming up in the very near future from Harry Leary.
Anthony Sewell, who in St. Louis finished with a fifth, and who overall in our point standings is somewhere around 11th spot, is doing very well. As we use our Olympic scoring system, Sewell has a third and a second place. Harry Leary is doing real well with a second place finish in the first moto and a top 4 finish in this last moto. So Harry Leary could really come through here, and maybe he's the guy that's going to walk away with that $2,500 first place check. Again, all of these riders competing for overall series points, 80 points to the winner, 70 points for second place, third place has other points. We'll be going over that point system a little bit later. But these guys are not only competing for cash, they're competing for overall series points. Round number 2 on the Pro Main, very successful. And we'll be back for a more exciting Pro and other amateurs right after this. So these guys are going to be hell-bent for leather, trying to get the best position finish that they can. Scott Clark in lane number 1, bicycle number plate number 8. Scott Clark. Next to him, Brian Patterson in lane number 2, one of the tallest pros on the circuit, one of the fastest. He has a lot of power. Greg Grubbs from Jag BMX in lane number 3. Greg Grubbs. Lane number 4, Eddy King, and Eddy is looking good. Eddy King had a first place finish in the first moto. He's going to be tough. John Pyatt from the Huffy team in lane number 5. Pyatt finishing 5th in that last one and 6th before he may be out of it. Anthony Sewell in lane number 6. Anthony looking sweet. He has a total of 5 points in Olympic scoring. On the outside, Mr. Menace, Greg Hill in lane number 7. On the far outside, lane number 8, Harry Leary. This is going to be a bad call for Harry Leary. He has 5 total points in Olympic scoring. $2,500 first place, $5,000 first, 80 points for the guy that finishes. A clean start. Sewell gets a bad start out of the gate. No, that was Clark. But Brian Patterson takes the lead, and here's Eddy King, 3X. Eddy King, the guy that won it all in Detroit. He's pushing hard with Brian Patterson behind him. Eddy King, Patterson, Hill on the inside. Hill is pushing like mad. Harry Leary behind him. We go down the hill. That's King in first. We've got an accident on the back straight, but it's not going to affect our leaders. King in the lead. Hill in second. Harry Leary, who had his hack after a broken leg, trying to get back on the swing of things. Diamondback 1 and 2 now. All right. It's King and Leary 1 and 2. Hill and Patterson behind him. Hill going to try to catch Leary back up again if he can. John Pyatt in 5th, trying to catch Patterson on the inside. Pyatt making a move on Patterson. He does sneak him out. It's Eddy King in the lead. Eddy King. Harry Leary's going to sew it up, it looks like. Greg Hill in 3rd. Pyatt in 4th, and Brian Patterson in 5th. And Harry Leary may have come here to accomplish exactly what he wanted. The Diamondback guys very happy with their finishes. Eddy King winning it. Harry Leary in 2nd. We're going to have all the final results when we come back. Maybe we can take another look at this race. A very good race at the finish. There's Eddy King catching his breath, and we're going to be back to get our total results wrap up to see how these guys battled out. We're going to be adding up their finish points. Our final results for that last final round, and this is just the results for this race. Eddy King in 1st, Harry Leary in 2nd, Greg Hill in 3rd, and John Pyatt in 4th. We'll be doing their totals here, and when we come back, we're going to have the final results for overall racing right here at the East Hills BMX track. And we'll also have our update on our overall leader for this incredible ESPN BMX Pro Spectacular Super Circuit Series.
That was one super race.
Here's Eddy and Harry Leary from the Diamondback team, and we'll be back to them and everything else right after this.
Don't take off all the speeds right here.
So this is how it all came down at the East Hills BMX track, stop number 4 on the Pro Spectacular circuit. Harry Leary in 1st, Eddy King in 2nd. With me now is our overall winner for today's event, Harry Leary. And Harry, Rennie Roker's got a check for $2,500 for that first place finish.
Harry, congratulations for you and your teammate and for coming 1 and 2. Best of luck to you in the rest of the series.
Thank you, Rennie. It's a pleasure to be part of the ESPN Pro Spectacular.
So that's our winner today, and we're going to be wrapping it up here from Johnstown, Pennsylvania. Be sure to catch our next stop, which will be in Vegas for this Pro Spectacular Series. I'm D. David Moore, and on behalf of Carmen Encino, thanks for watching.
Bye, BMXers. See you next time.